Hello and welcome to episode 110. In today's episode, I chat with some clients who are going to share their Ayurvedic journey with you, what their experience was, what the outcome was, and how Ayurveda has affected their life. So please stay tuned to hear all these fascinating stories. Hello and welcome to Elements of Ayurveda, Empowering Wisdom of Life. I'm your host, Colette, and in this podcast, I hope to empower you to take charge of your own health by sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, the ancient healing tradition from India. We will also discuss topics like health and wellness, nutrition, yoga, fitness, meditation, breath work, and much more, as well as interviewing lots of inspiring people along the way. My humble wish is to help you to connect to your true nature, to Mother Nature, and to each other. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the show, and the new episodes will automatically download for you to enjoy. If you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend you listen to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. I've also set up a Facebook group for us to connect and to support each other, and I'd love for you to join me over at Elements of Ayurveda podcast group. And now here's the show. Hi there. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as I mentioned in the intro, I'm going to be chatting to some clients who have gone through my programs so that they can share their experience with you and their Ayurvedic journey. These stories are fascinating. And in fact, it's a really requested podcast topic. I often ask in the Elements of Ayurveda podcast Facebook group, what would you like to hear more of? And client stories is one of those requests that always comes up. And I love to check in with clients as well, and that we look back over their story and their journey and where it's taken them to. So please enjoy this episode. And now I'm going to introduce you to a client of mine called Anika, who's in the UK. And Anika is going to tell you all about her experience and journey with Ayurveda. Anika, welcome to the show.
Hi, Colette.
It's so lovely to hear your voice, Anika. How are you today?
I'm very well. It's lovely to hear yours as well.
Well, I was looking back, at our records when we were ready to chat today, and I see that we first connected, I think it was November 2018.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's just a little over a year. But before we get started, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Oh, yeah, for sure. No problem. So I'm living in London currently, have been for the last 12 years or so, and gone through a few reincarnations here in London. I came originally to train as an actor, and finishing my training there, I sort of moved through very many different jobs, to keep the money coming in, and eventually went into production and eventually worked in the film industry for a couple of years as well. And it was sort of at the end of that I came into contact with Ayurveda. Yeah.
So tell me, how did you discover Ayurveda?
So I knew a little bit about Ayurveda, and to be honest with you, Colette, I cannot remember. I cannot remember my first point of contact with it. Right. But when I stopped working, I kind of got to a burnout phase with work. And a couple of years before that, about 4 years before that, I got a condition called Bell's palsy, which is where one half of your face sort of ceases to function, essentially. And after this, so that happened, and then I kind of got over that and carried on working and sort of moving forward, and then sort of realized that when I was burnt out at the end of this particular run of a particular job I was on, that I'd already had one quite obvious health warning, and I needed to take stock, feeling quite sort of out of sorts and really disconnected to myself and particularly to my body. Mm-hmm. And that's where I started having a little look around again. But what sort of ignited that, I can't remember. I know that I started practicing yoga, asana, and maybe it was something in there that led me to start, sort of looking at it. So that was the kind of point for me where I started looking on the net and going, okay, what can I figure out here about myself and get myself feeling better?
Right. And so what did that journey look like?
So basically, I did a little bit of online research. I did a self-diagnosis, one of those online quizzes. Mm-hmm.
The Ayurveda quiz, is that what you're talking about?
Like an online dosha quiz. I did that. Mm-hmm. And interestingly, I completely misdiagnosed myself. I had quite a warped view of myself, actually. I didn't think I had any Vata in me whatsoever, and it turned out I was Vata predominant. So that was very interesting. I think I still had a view of myself as my sort of teenage self, actually. Physically and energetically, I was very low. So I was just out of balance anyway, so I didn't diagnose myself.
Right.
At all. And then I very soon after that came into contact with your podcast. There wasn't really much time in it. Okay. And that's where I started listening to your podcast, trying to educate myself. I thought, no, I'm interested in this. There's just something in it. Mm-hmm. And then not long after that, I went to India for the first time. And I saw an Ayurvedic doctor when I was there. I went for an appointment, and she told me I was Vata predominant, and she gave me some information, some advice. It was really, insightful stuff. Mm-hmm. I was eating all the things that I kind of shouldn't have been my whole life. Right. And then soon after that, that's why it makes sense, I was in contact with you in the November. I got back from India in October, end of October. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of cracked on from there and thought, right, okay, let's get this together. Let's go for it. Let's go into it.
Right. And I remember we talked first and you signed up for the Discovery Call. You booked your Discovery Call, right.
And then straight away you confirmed the diagnosis I'd been given in India. You said it straight away. It matched up, and you gave me some advice. I think I was having some issues with bloating at the time.
That's right. I remember.
Brown rice, making my dal, I was going for it when I got back. I came back from India with an Ayurvedic cookbook, and you just gave me one suggestion. You said, right, okay, change the brown rice for white rice, and it sorted that problem.
Yeah, because you were having a lot of digestive discomfort.
Oh, so much. Yeah, my whole life I just assumed it was, that's how it is.
Well,
that's how it's always bloated, always, and I know now immediately if that comes up, then I've got to recalibrate.
Right. And then from there, after the Discovery Call, I think it was a while later, then you decided to pursue the cleanse. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, so over Christmas I was deliberating whether to do the cleanse, whether to invest. I hadn't been working for some months, had some savings. Eventually I just thought, no, I need to do this, and this is the way to do it. To do the cleanse, I need to fully dive in, go for the full experience. I was doing kind of well at home, making my meals and kind of getting better and being more conscientious about what I was eating, just getting more in tune with it. I was completely disconnected, just shoving anything down my throat, really, that would actually, that would keep my energy levels high. So I'd be reaching for chocolate, coffee, the odd carrot stick with hummus. And I mean, Vata shouldn't really be eating a lot of raw food. So I no idea. And so all those little bits were great for me to start cutting things out and understanding digestible foods. And I was doing that at home, but to have that full experience and really making that choice to, I'm gonna really bring myself into balance now and clear, on an emotional and physical level, which is what the Ayurvedic cleanse does. And I think in my testimonial afterwards, I wrote that during that cleanse, I felt in balance for the first time. I felt so calm and grounded. Yeah. And it was the experience of the cleanse. It wasn't, losing weight or looking better. It was the experience I wanted of an Ayurvedic cleanse, and that's what I got. Yeah, so that was what made me go for it in the end, just to go full in.
Yeah, and that was amazing just to hear you say that again now. And I recall at the time you were really feeling that your vata was grounded for the first time in a very long time, in years.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I felt like I was wrapped in cotton wool, and kind of nothing could touch me, or just not in the same way.
Right.
This as not this sort of. I'm very easily distracted, and sensorial wise, anything that's kind of going on is a very flitty kind of to and froing all through the day for me. And then sort of during this cleanse, I just felt so rooted. I don't think I'd ever felt like that, before. And so that was a wonderful experience. And the knowledge, as you probably recall, I was so keen to absorb as much of this knowledge, because it had just been producing these wonderful results. These, not in just how I was looking really, because I was looking healthier, undoubtedly. The dark circles under my eyes had started to fade and still have not come back actually, and they were there all the time. But more than that, it was just the knowledge that really was empowering. Just know, okay, I've got an idea now. I have a kind of a science here to apply, and some knowledge that I can really, use in my life, for my whole life. Yeah.
I love it. Well, that's definitely music to my ears, because that's what I want for people, is to empower them, to help them get into balance, and then empower them to take this and run with it and go forward and just live your life in balance. And then also connect to that your true nature, because you're in balance. You're not worried about, pains and aches and so on, or any imbalances or aggravations of doshas, that you can access that true nature. And I know for you said that you also had more clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. And still that has continued actually, along with the sort of meditation practices and Kriya practice and asana, the whole path of yoga combined, of which I see Ayurveda as much of a part, actually.
Absolutely.
100%. It's been part of this journey of yoga, this path of yoga, whatever that, that means different things to different people. But for me, it's been, all of it. And Ayurveda, absolutely, part of that self-discovery, that part of yoga, which is that self-discovery, self-inquiry. Ayurveda has been instrumental for me in that, as well as other things, of course, but 100% has given me the tools to look after myself and understand the signs of when I'm, pushing too far, even in yoga practice itself, in asana, to pull back. And,
right.
So we talked about that a lot. I think when the cleanse, I was doing a lot of, I think I was doing yoga every day. I was going a bit crazy on it, and really strong practices, and they weren't necessarily the best thing for me for Vata. I needed to sort of ground and give myself the time to, deepen.
Yes.
Yeah, that's informed my practice in that sense as well. It's Ayurveda has informed that as well. So, and I see them as all one and the same. And
absolutely, those sister sciences go hand in hand. And I do recall that we were talking a lot about your yoga practice at the time, because I think you were doing a lot of Ashtanga and a lot of power yoga classes as well, which weren't necessarily serving you at that time. And then I recall after the cleanse, then you were really, okay, give me more, I want more knowledge. And I think then you signed up for the Daily Habits course, right?
I did, yeah. I'm glad I did that. I was so pleased I'd done that.
Well, it just cements everything, I think. After the cleanse, when you feel so good, it's like, okay, I want to stay feeling this good. How am I going to do that? And that's why I recommend going on to the Daily Habits, because it really helps you to keep that habits you learned during the cleanse, but also installs kind of a new operating system going forward of really setting up your life so that you have these daily habits on autopilot.
Yeah, it really did. And at the end of the cleanse, I remember thinking to myself, oh, if I'd finished here, I would have felt, not that I would have felt sort of out in the cold, because you are so wonderful at supporting through it, but I would have felt like, I just wasn't done. I just wasn't done at that point. And I wanted to continue to absorb, and I was in a good place for it because I was, as you say, I was clear, and my body was in balance. And I find that when I'm in balance in that way, I can absorb knowledge better, and just digest it better. So it was a perfect time to continue study in that sense of Ayurveda with you. And it was done so the sort of portions in which you served that course up were just excellent. It was just enough each day just to take in, okay, that's enough for now. One can over a little bit I certainly do. I'll read things and then go back to it, and I don't remember any of it. I've just, I've tried to take in too much. Mm-hmm. But the way you set that up was just so digestible and so useful because there was something you could put into practice each day. Right. And yeah, I have to admit to you, Colette, I took a few screenshots and saved them.
Oh, of course. Why not? I welcome it.
I thought, I want to refer to that again. So, later.
Absolutely. No, I welcome that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, I did that, but I can refer back, to a few points and that was something I was really happy I decided to do, to just do the whole bundle.
That's right, you did the whole reset, restore, renew bundle all at one. That's correct. So tell me, now that you've been through the whole program and which was 7 weeks in all, and you've had a few months now in between that time, how are you feeling? How has Ayurveda affected you?
Well, this is one example. Mm-hmm. My partner, he's doing a sort of a job tomorrow night in London, in Wapping, which is just on the north side of the river. And he said to me, "Yeah, do you want to meet for dinner tomorrow night after I finish this thing?" And I said, "Yeah. So what time are you going to finish?" About 9:30. I was like, "Oh no. Way too late to eat. Wait."
That happens.
And he said, "Oh, see. Well, not in Sex and the City, it's not." I was like, "Well, yeah, okay."
That happens. You're like, "What do you mean you want me to eat at 9 p.m.?
Oh my gosh, he and I used to meet 10:30 at night after he'd finished work, go and have a burger, go and have pizza, a few drinks. Like it was just, nothing. This was all before I got Bell's palsy, actually. And after doing that, I wasn't as much, but I still continued with my old, my old routines. But Ayurveda has just completely changed all that. Not that obviously once in a while, my goodness, one can't be time, of course not. But, that was my knee-jerk reaction to it. I thought, because the feeling of getting to bed, between 10, sometimes it's 9:30 for me, or a bit later if I'm reading or whatever. But I'm in bed around that time, and I'm up by 5:30 every morning. And I, some mornings it's easier than others, of course. But in general, that routine has just been so beneficial, and it's just the way it makes you feel. I wouldn't keep doing it if I didn't feel better. I mean, someone doesn't want to get up and meditate, but do you feel better after you've done it? Yeah, you do. Right. It's just, that's it. It doesn't need, the word discipline doesn't really need to come too much into it, because the results speak for themselves, and therefore you want to in the end. You just naturally begin to fall in because you feel that it's sort of right. Mm-hmm. Sort of that simple, that Ayurvedic, the circadian rhythms, working with the rhythms of the day. I eat my main meal at lunch always now. I never eat the main meal in the evening unless for some reason I've really not been able to eat. Something's gone on and I need to eat in the evening. You need to eat. But otherwise, no, the main meal is at lunch. That's when I want to eat the most. I sleep better at night, that my stomach's not full of, mashed potatoes and just simple things like that.
Right.
It has changed my life entirely in that way, and yet not in a way that's been unforgiving to being social and
great.
Still having a life,
Yeah, and that's so important, isn't it? Just to still be flexible.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. But to have this kind of lovely rhythm and this basis of which to return, and when you know, oh yeah, I've gone a bit far last couple of days, it was very social, we did this, whatever, and okay, but I know on Monday morning I'll set that alarm, I'll have my little routine, do my hot lemon, just have that moment in the morning just to do that. And I think it serves not only you but everyone you come into contact with.
Absolutely.
The whole day. And, if you can't, what more can you sort of ask for from a practice than that? And that's what I was searching for, was something just to bring me back to myself in that sense, I suppose, into that kind of that true kind of feeling of well-being.
Fantastic.
And
your health you feel good now?
Yeah. Oh,
Place.
And my digestive system is temperamental, and I'm just so much more aware of it now. And if things aren't working as they should, I know, okay, I need to change this and that, and make sure things are working and running smoothly, as it were. It's just the awareness, Colette, like we were talking about earlier, and. Health-wise, I'm just much more in tune. That's the best way I can really describe it. And there's better days and better periods of the month where I'm really good, and then other times I come a little bit out of balance, and it's to do with food and routine and other things, and stressful things that might be going on. Same for us all. But I have this basis, this confidence.
Oh, that's what I was about to ask. Yes,
I have this confidence.
Love it.
There's these other things I've tried in the past, in quick diets and quick things, and okay, I feel terrible, I'll do a detox of smoothies or what have you. I mean, it couldn't have been it's probably the worst thing I could have done was just go on smoothies for 5 days or something like that. So it's that confidence in what I'm doing for myself as well.
I love it. Yeah, I was about to ask you about that. That's again music to my ears, that you have the confidence to go forward, feeling empowered to take charge of your own health, and that you have this foundation to come back to. Go have some fun, go enjoy the holidays, and go, oh, it's okay, I'm not going to stress about it, because I know I can always come back to my foundation of my practices to bring me back into balance, which is amazing to have that.
It is. It really it really is. It's been the greatest gift, and really kick-started this new portion of my life where I saw that a change, like most people who come to Ayurveda and to yoga, they've come to a point where a gear really has to switch. It's sort of little mini signals anymore. It's a big fat signal, right? Staring you right in the face, like something's got to change, kind of now. And definitely yoga and Ayurveda, and in the initial stages of this transformation period for me were just instrumental in that, and it will be for my whole life. It's not a fad, it's not a momentary it's wonderful, and it just keeps going. I listen to your podcasts, and my goodness, like the amount of information, yoga in general, but Ayurveda on its own is just vast, isn't it?
Oh yes. I'm still learning, and it's ongoing. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's so interesting and so logical, and it's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, and the love you have for it shines through, and it definitely made the process of my understanding of Ayurveda that much more enjoyable for me. Was the way you deliver it, and the way you supported me through that cleanse, and your love for it was only affirming what my intuition was telling me about it. So thank you, Colette, because really it has changed my life. It sounds dramatic, but it has. It absolutely has, 100%.
Yeah, in very subtle ways, that it's just this undercurrent of having this confidence, these foundations of these daily practices, that keep humming along to keep you in balance.
So, really simple things that I don't even think about now. They just are part of the day. They're not a hindrance. They're not a problem. They're not I've got to do that. It's just, that's it. That's just part of the day. And I try and eat here, and here, and get up around here, and go to bed around here, and know that in the afternoon it's a better time to do this kind of thing, and in the morning is a good time to do this kind of thing.
And like you said, it's not huge shifts in your life. Like people around you, friends and so on, may not even know, but they'll notice that something's different.
That's right. And mine did. Definitely a group of friends I met for Christmas last year kind of noticed it straight away. And one of my friends, her mum had actually been sort of studying Ayurveda and following Ayurveda, I suppose, for the last few years. And she noticed the change in her mum. And then I'd started on the path myself, and she sort of asked, what are you doing? And I said, Ayurveda, this is what I've been doing. And she said, okay, right. And I think the combination of seeing her mum and then a friend, and since then she's been off on her own path and gone, as I told you earlier, has gone and got herself properly, got a dosha confirmed and has her own routine. And
great.
And it just has a beautiful way, and you don't have to shout about it. You don't have to force it. It just has a beautiful way of just entering people's lives when the time is right. And another friend of mine at the time as well, she's since kind of been inquiring about it. And my goodness, I mean, she texted me a couple of times for a bit of food advice. I mean, Colette, in my friend group, I would have been the last person, my friendship group, that anyone would ask for any kind of food or health advice. I can tell you that.
And here you are now.
So, I mean, that in itself is just,
love it.
That's the beauty of it, I guess. But
That's brilliant. But I love that. That's it. It's very subtle, and people just notice, hey, what's different? And that's the way it happens with Ayurveda. It's like this humble medicine that just is just vibrating around the world. I love it. So being the guru that you are now, my dear. So would you have any Ayurvedic advice or tip that you learned on your journey that was profound for you, or that you would like to share with the listeners out there today?
Yeah, I would definitely say that if you're considering kind of diving in, a cleanse is I can't think of a better way to do it. But I'm not an expert on Ayurveda at all. I mean, I have a couple of books at home that I refer to now, but I can't think of any better way to dive in than do the kind of full experience of a cleanse, whichever way that suits you kind of best. And equally, have a read of a few books and have them around just for tips. And I think you send out some lovely tips each week, and I've signed up to sort of Joyful Belly and the Alandi Ashram, and they send through like you a little newsletter every now and then with some advice each month. So you kind of just tapped into it. Okay, this is a good remedy for colds. This is a good remedy, and you don't necessarily reach for the Beecham's or the Nurofen. There's lovely things like that, and that's another thing. I mean, I used to get sick a lot of colds, flus, strep throat. I mean, and if I do get ill now, it just doesn't hit in the same way that it used to. And I mean, who knows why that is, for sure. But all I can tell you is that's been since Ayurveda. I don't reach for the pills straight up anymore. There's lovely remedies, and I would just say source out little things like that, or sign yourself up to those newsletters. And just keep yourself engaged in it in that way, and do the cleanse if you feel you really want to go for the full experience and sort of have the body rejuvenate and also the emotional body as well. The pranamaya kosha, all the sheaths really, I suppose, because it did work on more than the physical level. I was able to kind of clarify a lot. I did a lot of writing during the cleanse and got a lot of stuff out, noticed a lot of my patterns. The wisdom was beginning to drop in a little bit more. And so, I think if you want that experience or you want to see what that experience may bring, then go for a cleanse. Otherwise, just sign up on all the good kind of publications and just get those little hints and tips dropping into your inbox. And
there you go.
A few things might drop in that just come at the right time, and just let it sort of evolve naturally, and whatever needs to happen will will happen. But for me, the cleanse was the real, okay, and I cleanse now as well. I do that.
That's great. Yeah, and that's the thing. It just hits the reset button. So it takes you out of your normal day-to-day so that you can just reset and then start building a new foundation again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, Anika, it's been a pleasure to work with you and to catch up with you. And please keep me posted on how you're doing. I love getting, updates on how they're doing. So it'd be lovely to hear. And thank you so much for sharing your experience and your journey with Ayurveda with others. I think this will help a lot of people. So I really appreciate it, my dear.
Not at all. It's been a pleasure, Colette. Really a pleasure to share with you.
Thank you, Anika. Well, listen, enjoy the holidays.
And you as well.
And keep me posted on how you're doing.
Will do. All right, Colette.
Take care of yourself.
And you. Take care for now.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So I hope you enjoyed that chat with Anika. It was certainly very kind of her to share her experience with Ayurveda and on her journey. And we talked a lot about my services, and that Anika signed up for my full package, which is the Reset, Restore, Renew program. And I just want to let people know, if you're interested after listening to that I offer all my services in this one program, this 7-week Reset, Restore, Renew program. So my services basically are the 90-minute online consultation. I offer a 21-day tailored digestive reset cleanse, and I offer a 28-day daily habits for a holistic health program. So you can either do those separate, or I have all those bundled in one program called the Reset, Restore, Renew program, which is 7 weeks long. And that package includes the 90-minute online consultation, the 21-day digestive reset cleanse, a midpoint check-in with me, the 28-day daily habits course, and at the end of all that, there's a 60-minute follow-up consultation with me so we can build a strategy for going forward or cover any questions that you have. So you see, you get a lot of support throughout that 7-week program. I'm there throughout to answer any questions and to support you on that journey, however much support you desire. And of course, going forward, then I do have follow-up, accountability and support packages if you need it. But they are my main programs. So I wanted to let you know that in January, I have a group discounted Reset, Restore, Renew program. So I discounted as a group event once a year in January, and that will be starting on January 24th. So it takes a while for us to get our head in place to do a program like this. So just know that starting January 24th, it's going to be that 7-week transformational journey of healing, connection, education, and empowerment. Now, if you feel that you don't want to sign up for the full 7 weeks, you can take advantage of just the digestive reset cleanse, and I'll be doing that at group discount rates as well, starting January 24th. So you have a couple of options there. I'll put the link in the show notes where you can find out more information, and I have videos on my website where I'm explaining those packages a lot more. And I have a side-by-side comparison chart so you can see exactly what you get. And of course, if you have any questions, just reach out to me. My email is info@elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and I'll put that on the show notes. And you can also contact me through the contact page on my website. And Anika also mentioned my weekly newsletter. I'll put that as a link in the show notes as well, because that's how you keep up to date with all these offers that are going on or any special events that I have. And I also share a lot of Ayurvedic tips and remedies, as Anika mentioned as well there. So please sign up for that weekly newsletter as well. Okay, so now I want to introduce you to another client. So here we go on the next Ayurvedic journey. So now I want to introduce you to Kavina, who's in Perth and who has very kindly agreed to come on the show and share her experience with Ayurveda. Hi, Kavina. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Colette. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience. It just really helps listeners, and I get requests all the time from listeners to hear more client stories. So can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. So I was born in Malaysia, and we, as a family, moved to Perth in 2007, I think, so over about 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I call Perth home now. I live with my husband in the city, and and my heritage is Sri Lankan, so I've got a bit of a mixed bag there. Yeah, so I've got Sri Lankan, Australian, Malaysian. I don't know where one starts and where the other ends. So
I love that. It just adds to all the richness. So, Kavina, can you tell us, where did you first learn about Ayurveda or hear about Ayurveda?
Yeah, so I can tell you the exact date because I wrote it down. It was the 4th of June this year that I heard about Ayurveda on a documentary I watched called Remedy. Okay. It was online, and they were talking about all this ancient medicine and herbs, and this guy came on and started talking about Ayurveda, and I was like, what is that? So it got my attention, and I started looking it up and found one of the things that came up was your podcast as well, actually. And because I drive a lot during the day, I just started nerding out on Ayurveda and learning as much as I could, just out of interest. Like there was nothing really that I was looking for at the time. And then funnily enough, 2 weeks after that, I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, autoimmune condition. And then I thought, what am I going to do? I don't want to be taking thyroxine medication forever, as my GP had suggested. And that's when the thought popped into my head. I was like, I wonder if Ayurveda could help here. So it was the timing was great of when I found out about it. And I found a practitioner in Perth who got me started with some of the daily habits, the dinacharyas, and then when I felt that I had some of those implemented, I can go into them a little bit more if you want. Once I started implementing those, then I sort of wanted to move, I guess, a little bit deeper into it, and that's when I found your courses. So I think it was the Digestive Reset course, that I did that sort of in-home cleanse, which was great, and followed by the Daily Habits course, which I'm still finishing up now. And it's taken me to lots of different places online and the real world.
Yeah, I know, because I want to go back now and dissect that a little bit, because your journey has been amazing, and I love that. You know, you happen to find it on a documentary, hear about it, it sparked your interest, and then you remember that when you got this diagnosis that you recalled Ayurveda, and, you know, you didn't want to go the medicine route, so you're trying to see what else is out there, and then Ayurveda came back into your mind. So you said that you went to see a practitioner in Perth first, and you started with some dinacharya?
Yes.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about how you started?
Yeah, absolutely. So the practitioner gave me a list of things to start with. I was quite overwhelmed because there were so many things.
Yeah.
But she helped me pick sort of 3 things to get started on, and that was the tongue scraping in the morning, and sort of waking up with a good intention for the day, and like setting a good intention, I suppose, to take me through the day. And the third, I think, was oil pulling as kind of the key things to start. And also she pointed out that the coffee I was drinking wasn't really helpful. I had a Vata imbalance, and that was something that she recommended I take off my diet altogether. So what else went? I was training at F45 very rigorously, 5 days a week, and that had to go as well.
So is that like a CrossFit kind of intense training?
Yes, yes, high intensity interval training, and then alternate days of weight training, weight resistance and strength training. And I was doing this at 6 a.m. in the morning, so it was really full on. I did that for a whole year, and then I quit basically in June. This year. Yeah, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then you follow those habits for a little while, and then you decided you want to go a little deeper, right?
Yes.
And I think that's when you contacted me because you're interested in doing the Digestive Reset Cleanse.
Yeah.
Online with me. And so can you tell the listeners a little bit about how you found that experience?
I loved it. I thought it was really empowering that I could actually cook all these meals at home in my own kitchen, which I'll tell you, it's a very small kitchen. We live in a tiny apartment in the city, and just being able to look after myself was amazing. And you gave me all the tools essentially, and just my body just felt so happy. It just felt, my tummy was happy, things were moving as they should be. I was just felt really regulated. Like my mind felt calm. It was amazing. And I think that's something that I'd like to keep doing regularly, just for my body to have a bit of a reset and restart. Yeah,
it's so fantastic to do it regularly. And I love that you found it empowering. And I recall, I tailor it to each person, obviously, all the foods, but also we had to look at your daily structure because, like you said earlier, in your job, you drive a lot. And you were grabbing food here and there, and we were like, okay, we can't change this. So what do we do? And I remember saying, you know what, I need you to pull over, or, you had to eat in your car sometimes, but at least stop, not eat while driving, and, take some time to eat. And then after you eat, do some breath work or put on some nice music while you're eating, because we wanted to to relax the nervous system and bring calm before you were going to eat, because you had some digestive problems.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me of that. That was actually a big part of, I think, my healing was learning to stop and eat my lunch in a calm way. I used to sometimes drive and eat a sandwich. And that's really
hey, look, I remember I used to do that in the past when I was driving a lot. I would have something on my lap and chewing away while I'm driving. Yeah. And a lot of us do it in this hectic world, but it's so important for us to take time.
Yeah, so now I carve out time for lunch and I eat a proper meal, and it's always really warm and, it just makes my tummy feel really nurtured. I carry a thermal flask, so I heat up my food in the morning on the pan because I don't use a microwave anymore, and I put the food in the thermal flask and I carry it with me. So no matter the day, if I'm out for appointments in the hills or if I'm in the office, my food's always warm with me.
Yeah, I love that, and I highly recommend that people do avoid the microwave because it does change the integrity of the food, and also that buying a thermos will keep the food warm, so you don't even have to worry about trying to keep it warm throughout the day when you're out and about. So that's fantastic, and this is what I love when I'm dealing with clients one-on-one, is like trying to figure out the puzzle of their lives and having what I'm suggesting fit in. So it's not overwhelming. So it's not going to be this cause more stress to a person's life, right? It's about little simple things. I know we talked a lot about little snacks, grounding snacks for you and so on, things that really help to keep your vata grounded throughout the day.
Absolutely,
right? Yeah. So then you felt great after the cleanse.
Yeah, no, I felt amazing. I guess I wanted to learn more about the daily habits and the mind, and that was prompted by your course, the Daily Habits course. And I started that not too long ago. Yeah. The first week of the content was quite familiar to me, but it was really nice to know that I was sort of doing a lot of those things already. And it just felt like reassuring, I guess. I was on the right track, and that I should keep doing these things, because not just stop because I'm feeling better, but it's to keep feeling better and thriving, as opposed to just kind of surviving day to day. And I'm not completed yet, but I've just been loving learning about the mind and the gunas and all the different breathing techniques. It's been really fascinating.
That's wonderful. And so after the cleanse, just after the cleanse, you went back to your doctors, isn't that correct?
I did. I was putting off my blood test for a while, and then I got around to retesting. And so 4 months after the initial diagnosis, I went back and did my thyroid battery and antibodies, and the blood works all came back normal, which was brilliant. I couldn't have hoped for a better result.
Oh, I know. I got your email and I was doing a little happy dance at this end. It's just fantastic. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And so then you continued on an Ayurvedic journey. So you finished the cleanse, you started the daily habits, and then tell us where it took you.
Yes. I wanted more of this good stuff. So I took myself through Ubud in Bali, and I went to Amrita City, which is an Ayurvedic treatment center, recommended by you actually. I did a rejuvenation program there for 6 days, so it was short and sweet, but it really helped my body just, I guess, get to that next level of feeling really happy and healthy and just full. So all the massages and the in-home foods that were made for my constitution, and the yoga and meditation, like everything was just brilliant. It was just a really nice way to end that sort of episode of my life, I suppose, with that diagnosis, and kind of letting go of it as well, because I felt like it's now time to just keep thriving and keep feeling well, as opposed to holding on to that piece of disease or diagnosis or whatever. So it was a nice way to kind of close that chapter, I suppose, in Ubud. And I just loved it, and I'll definitely be going back as well and doing a reset, I guess, every year or 2 years if I can.
Yeah, that's great. And it's so true what you say, Kavina. When we get a diagnosis like that, it can really shake us to our core, and it can really become something sometimes that we attach to, and that can affect the way we go forward. So I love that you saw this process of healing and now letting go of that, and that you're not that diagnosis. Yeah,
I work with a lot of customers that have different conditions, different disabilities, and I've seen how that can really become who you are, and you become so, I guess, attached to that, and it's a very tough thing as well. But I just did not want to be defined by this diagnosis, and it's such a small part of who I am, and I feel like it served its purpose. And now it was just time to leave it be and let it be in the past, and enjoy my new me.
There you go. And so this new me, that you're a new lease on life, and you were chatting before we started recording, you were saying that in work they mentioned that you haven't taken any sick days. Like somebody actually commented, because I guess, did you take a good few in the past?
I was sick for the past 2 to 3 years. Before I got the diagnosis, things weren't smooth sailing. I was dizzy all the time. I couldn't drive at times. I had mind fog, and I just wasn't feeling well. I would get sick all the time, like cough and cold and flus. I just couldn't run my body properly, and had no idea what was wrong, and no one could tell me what was wrong. So it was really frustrating. That period of 2 to 3 years of not knowing what was going on. Like, I felt crazy. I thought I had, ADHD or something, because my mind could just not attend to anything. And I was overwhelmed. I had periods of anxiety and depression. It was a really tough time. And then it sort of culminated in that diagnosis, and it kind of made me go, okay, right, now some of that kind of makes sense, and then the Ayurveda's way of explaining it, with the Vata imbalance and the mind aggravation and all of that. And I was like, it all makes sense.
Right. Like you said, it culminated 3 years of aggravation of the Vata dosha culminated in that diagnosis.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I was listening to your 6 stages of disease episode, and I was just nodding my head, because that made sense to me. That was my story as well. Of things were just not right for so long, until then it showed up in my blood works.
Right.
But no one could tell me what was wrong. And I just felt like I was lazy and unmotivated, and just stupid, because I was leaving things behind, and I'd walk into a room and not know why I was there, like all these little things that I just felt like I was crazy sometimes.
Right.
But now, like, my mind is so sharp, like I don't forget things, and it's amazing. Like, just the transformation is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And you're saying that you feel happy. You mentioned that before.
Yeah, just in general, I feel happy. Like nothing in my life's changed. I'm still in the same job, living in the same home, same husband, same family, same friends. So my life situation hasn't changed, but just my mindset and the power. I think I went from feeling disempowered in my life to feeling powerful and in control, although, that's also a bit of an illusion, but just feeling in control of the choices that I can make during the day.
Confident to make those choices. And I've just got goosebumps from you saying that, that's music to my ears, Kavina, that, that's what I want for clients, is that they feel empowered and confident now to go forward and go, I can take care of myself. And I don't have to worry about that disease or illness coming back because I know what I have to do. And right. And I think that we just mentioned earlier before we started recording about how it's so simple. It's not like this big dramatic change you have to make in your life. All you changed were your habits and how you eat and, your daily structure. We changed that a little bit, but it didn't really impede on your life too much, right?
No, not really. It was just going to bed a little bit earlier and waking up, early as well.
Yeah.
And, all those other sort of habits that I mentioned, cutting out the coffee and heavy exercising.
Right.
Cooking home-cooked foods with a lot of spices and I guess grounding vegetables for my vata. That was really important. I think I was cooking at home before, but not the foods that suited me.
Right.
So the other thing that's worth mentioning is because I was feeling so unwell in the last sort of 3 years, I decided that I would cut down my work days from 5 days to 4 days. This was in about April, I think I decided, and I was just going to find, I guess, my sort of healing on that day off and, kind of look after myself and figure out what was going on. So I started working 4 days a week in June as well.
Oh, right.
Also at that same time that I got that diagnosis. So I had Fridays off to just really focus on myself and, do my shopping and go to the markets and get, healthy foods that were in season, local and cook those meals, So I actually had an extra day to look after myself. And I think that's also worth mentioning because I was hesitant about dropping down a day and I guess losing 20% of my salary, but it's paid off in the long run because I'm well and I'm happy. And now I can go to work on those 4 days and really contribute and show up as opposed to feeling just not right.
Well, I'm just, so happy for you. And also you should be so proud of yourself for the effort that you put in and that you were really seeking alternative to medicine and that you were really making an investment in your health and well-being. And you knew that something had to change and you were started researching things. So you have to be very proud of yourself, Kavina, for, really taking care of yourself and taking that time out to really investigate what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for all your help too along the way.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I really enjoyed supporting you. So is there any Ayurvedic tip or advice that you have learned on your journey that you would like to share with the listeners?
For me, I think getting to know yourself probably really, really important. And what I mean is knowing, how your energy works throughout the day, how much sleep you need, what kind of foods you need to eat, the type of exercise that your body needs to move optimally. And Ayurveda kind of gives you all of those guidelines really, which is magic. Like it's brilliant. And and I was just going through trial and error trying to figure out all those things. And, maybe I was doing some things right and some things not so right. But I think just being able to tune into that wisdom and setting up a template for your own life is amazing, and I guess it's usually when we get sick is when we start looking into these things. But now's a good time as any really to set yourself up for a healthy life. And I guess, that's probably my tip. Know yourself.
That's it. It's that self-study that's so key, and it takes the guesswork out when you find out exactly your birth constitution, exactly your signs of imbalance. You get a plan that's tailored to your lifestyle. It takes the guesswork out. It's like a one-time investment, and now you have it for life, right? So what you've learned now, Kavina, you have for life, and you can take it forward, and you know exactly how to keep yourself in balance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it just makes me feel good about the decisions I make. If I get asked to go out on a weekend night and I know that the next day I've got something early in the morning, like I go to the markets every Saturday morning. So I just know that, if I stay out late, then I'm not going to feel well enough to go to the markets. And, I'll go out and come home at a reasonable time and get my rest and be able to go to the markets. And it just makes decision making easier as well, right. Knowing what my body needs, right. And it's not like, oh, do I go? Do I not go? Right. Do I, like it takes all that out, like you said.
Yes, yeah, and that decision paralysis and wasting energy on, okay, I get up in the morning now. What do I do now? And what do I do in my evening? You have a set routine in place, and you know what works, what's going to keep you in balance. And while it's not 100% rigid, you do have flexibility, but you can always go back to it. If you go away on vacation, you come back to that, and it's going to bring you back into balance, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the things I picked up from your daily habits course, I've been doing since, and I love it. The lemon water in the morning,
right? The
meditation pranayama, like all of that is just, I don't even have to decide anymore. It just becomes my habit, and it's brilliant.
Love it. Music to my ears. Kavina, thank you so much for sharing your experience. You are going to help so many people with this when they're trying to, work out if Ayurveda is for them, and just hearing your story is really going to help. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been so much fun working with you and getting to know myself as well. It's been great.
Wonderful. It's been my pleasure to work with you. Well, take good care of yourself and keep me posted on how you're doing.
Will do. Thank you, Colette.
All the best. Take care, my dear. Bye-bye. Such an amazing Ayurvedic healing journey there. And thanks again, Kavina, for sharing your story and being so open. And we really appreciate it. It's so wonderful to hear these stories of how Ayurveda can really help people heal and make big changes in their lives. And now I've one final Ayurvedic healing journey to share with you. So let's go right into it. Okay, so now I want to introduce you to another client of mine who I worked with recently. Her name is Jenny. And Jenny, are you there?
Hi.
Hi, Jenny. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. I'm doing great, thanks. And thank you so much, first of all, for coming on and sharing your story with the listeners.
Of course. Thank you.
And so, first of all, I guess, Jenny, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself to the listeners.
I live in Tampa, Florida. I've been in healthcare as a nurse and a nurse practitioner for about 10 years. So I work with patients in cardiology. That's my passion.
Beautiful. And can you tell us, first of all, how did you learn about Ayurveda? Because you're in the medical industry. And how did Ayurveda come into your world?
So I started hearing about Ayurveda through yoga. And kind of tried to find some things and read about it on my own, but it was overwhelming. And then I discovered your podcast. So it really helped to break it down and more understandable to apply to every day.
Great. And so when was that you discovered it? Do you remember?
About 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Great.
That's just, hearing, I wasn't really pursuing anything with it. I had just become aware of it.
And so what made you take that next step to pursue the journey of Ayurveda?
So after hearing your podcast and the services that you offer, I was just not feeling good at all. I was really run down and always had upset stomach, and I had some emotional things going on as well at the time. So I did the cleanse with you. well, first I did the consultation, and that's what you recommended. So
Right.
I did that, and it totally changed everything.
Okay, so we'll have to delve a little deeper into that. Tell me about your experience, or tell the listeners about your experience and what it changed for you.
So I just overall felt like I had more energy. I wasn't having upset stomach anymore. That had been going on for about a year. And just some of the daily habits that you recommended, I've been doing those. And it's just good to get into a routine and have those healthy habits daily.
Right. And I remember, of course, you have, your work schedule, so we had to work around that and so on. How did you find incorporating these new foods and routines into your day? When you were going through the cleanse, did you find it easy to manage work and doing the cleanse?
Yeah, it was very easy. I just prepared the food ahead of time. I think in 2 different batches for the whole week of the cleanse. And that made it very easy. I would just pack my food and take it to work. And then, it gets kind of crazy in the hospital. So you have to be kind of flexible to the situations that are arising.
Right.
But you can still fit in the pranayama, or just even like being still, I guess, in your mind. Getting out in nature for 5 minutes, just walking. We have a nice lake at the hospital or the neighborhood. Just getting out and getting some fresh air and sunshine can really make a difference.
Yeah, I remember discussing that because with your work, you're a caregiver, you're giving a lot of your energy to clients, and, you've got this beautiful, compassionate energy. And so I remember us having that discussion about how it's important for you to refill yourself and to get out of that environment when you can, just so that you can fill yourself up again, so that you have energy to help those around you.
Yes. Yeah. It absolutely helps.
Yeah, and necessary, right? Necessary to really take care of yourself first, because your natural tendency, I know, is to care for others. But of course, if we're not feeling vibrant and full of energy, we can't be there for others. So I think that was important for you to understand, right?
Oh, yeah. You definitely have to take care of yourself if you're going to take care of anybody.
Yeah.
At work, at home. It's definitely been a work in progress, but it's getting better. And I think just being aware is the first step.
Right. Absolutely. Once you have the awareness, it's like there's no going back. That I really think that's the catalyst to change, because once you have the awareness of what's in your environment or your foods and so on are affecting you, and that usually comes from, the education and the consultation, then it's like, oh my goodness, I see how this is causing my stomach upset, or this is draining my energy and so on. So once you have that awareness, then you're like, okay, this has to shift. But a lot of times, people go through life and they don't have that awareness, and they're not sure what's causing their emotional or physical pain, because it could be any number of things. But that's why it's good to get the clarity and then feel it for yourself and experience it for yourself, and then take the steps to make those changes. So you had digestive issues and your energy. I remember your energy was very low. How did you feel post-cleanse?
I felt great. I've never been a morning person, and now I get up early with no alarm, and it's just kind of like clockwork.
Oh my goodness, that has changed, huh?
Yes, it's changed. And it's just kind of that internal clock, I guess, from doing it regularly, just setting my alarm during the cleanse and going to bed by 10 p.m. Instead of staying up later.
Great.
Just getting on a better schedule, I guess.
Yeah, and a lot of times just by living in tune with the circadian rhythms and getting on that schedule, that the body then realigns itself, right? And you'll find that just by realigning with the circadian rhythm, some of those ailments, if they're not so deep in the tissues, the body will realign itself just by changing your schedule.
Yes.
And so I know you were telling me that you were bringing some of the Ayurveda into your work as well. Can you talk about that a little bit and how Ayurveda has affected not only you personally and in your body, in your mind, but also in your work life?
I think one of the big things with work, it's made me be more in tune to other people and the patients that I take care of. So when you're dealing with a coworker that's upset or a patient that's sad, you're just more in tune and able to provide them with the guidance, or even sometimes just silence and holding their hand is all that they need.
Yeah.
It's so funny because at 2 p.m. every day, I just sit and stare at my computer screen and I can't chart anymore.
Right. That's when that Vata energy comes in.
Yeah. And I joke around with the lady I share an office with. We're always like, well, it's 2:00.
There you go.
It's when we try to go out and go for a walk or work on projects, things that are maybe more creative.
Fantastic.
For my role.
Yeah.
If possible. It's not always possible.
Right.
But if I do have that time of day, I'll focus on that. And
that's wonderful. Yeah, that's fantastic that you have that awareness and not, instead of beating yourself up about why can't I focus, what's wrong with me, knowing that, it's the Vata energy coming in and it's not really the ideal time to do anything intellectual or any focused work. So that's great. And I love that, you have an awareness around your coworkers and the patients. And I think we discussed this before, understanding other people's constitution types, their doshas, and how they may react to things and so on. And I'm sure that helps with the patients as well, huh?
Yes, it does. Yep. If you, if you're just more in tune with them and listen to their needs, sometimes they're not looking for advice or anything. They just need an ear.
Yeah.
Or, like I said, holding their hand. I try to hold their hand, and that really helps them relax for their procedures or, afterwards.
Oh, Jenny, that's
hard.
So lovely.
They're stressed out when they come in there.
Right. But just that energy, your energy alone and your energy being balanced and being there for them and holding space and holding their hand, if that's the case, it's just so lovely because you're just reassuring them. Such a lovely job that you're taking care of others. And ideally suited for you, my dear. And I had the pleasure, of course, and I had the pleasure of meeting Jenny because Jenny was one of the participants on my Ayurveda and yoga retreat here in the south of France in October. So it was so fantastic to have you here, Jenny.
Thank you. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was a great group. We really connected and bonded. And can you tell us about your experience?
Yeah, it was beautiful where we stayed. That was nice. And just like you said, the group was perfect. We all had something in common, which was kind of strange.
Yes.
But we just got along very well, and we were all open to sharing ideas, which I think helped the rest of the group, just hearing some of the struggles that the others had gone through.
Yeah.
Learning about doing yoga and learning about Ayurveda for those 3 days was really nice.
Yeah, and it was so lovely to meet you all in person. And I love the fact that everybody was very open and sharing. So it wasn't just me talking all the time. It's like I would give some discussions on Ayurveda, but then everybody would share their experience of that or their ideas. And it's just interesting hearing about different scenarios in people's lives. And I thought that was wonderful. I really appreciated everybody sharing their experiences.
Yeah, I think that definitely made the experience different than just sitting there being like a teacher-student.
Right.
Sharing everything.
Yeah. We were all very vulnerable and I think that created a great bond in the group. So it was lovely. And thank you so much for coming. And I know you got to stay around for a couple of days afterwards enjoying the south of France.
Yes, I did. That was great.
So can you tell us how Ayurveda has impacted your life? How have, we talked about your work in your own life. How has it impacted your life?
I've incorporated some of the suggestions from you, doing the tongue scraping in the morning, the pranayama, meditation. I try to do it for at least 10 minutes in the morning before work. And on the weekends, I can do it for a little bit longer, but that's really helped.
Great.
Keep me centered during the day. You just kind of try to go back to that place of stillness, right, amidst the chaos anywhere, and you can feel calm and be calm, and that energy is shared with the people around you too.
Absolutely, and especially in the work environment you're in, it's so important for you to come back to that present moment awareness, because there, like you said, things can change very quickly in your work environment. Yeah. So that's wonderful. And if you were to give any tips or advice to people out there about Ayurveda or about going on their own Ayurvedic journey, what would you share with them?
I would share to make a space in your home where you can go and it makes you happy. Just to do your meditation or your yoga, or read a book, talk to your friends, family. I did that on my patio, and it's been really nice to go out there and spend time.
That's lovely. So it's a space that you know you can go to just to relax and to connect either with yourself or with your friends or family.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a great idea. I love that.
And, sometimes it can be overwhelming trying to incorporate different habits into your life, and you just have to treat yourself with compassion and not try to be perfect and do it all, because I think that takes away from the whole point of doing it in the first place. So it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And everyone's capacity is different because it depends on your life and your constitution and your schedule and so on, and your commitments. But it's, I think it's so important, and so glad you mentioned that. Self-compassion, taking your own time. There's no rush. You can take your time, make sure it's not overwhelming. Just take a little bit at a time, find out what works for you, and just going to take time to incorporate a new operating system. So have compassion and patience with that journey, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Jenny, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. So lovely to catch up with you as well. And it was such a pleasure to work with you and support you. And it's wonderful now to see that you're incorporated into your life, but also into your workspace. I think that's amazing.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, well, keep in touch, my dear, and take good care of yourself.
I will do. You too.
Thanks, Jenny. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I want to thank again Anika, Kevina, and Jenny for coming on the show and being so open and sharing their experiences with you. So thank you, ladies, and I hope that you enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. If you're interested in getting support on your healing journey, please check out all the links in the show notes I mentioned earlier. Or if you want to chat in person, book a free 20-minute online call with me where we can chat about your situation and what I would recommend for you. So again, you can find all those links in the show notes, or just visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and go to the services tab. That's where you'll find out all the consultations and programs over there. And don't forget, I have those group discounted programs starting January 24th, 2020, which is just around the corner. Thanks a million for tuning in. Take good care of yourself, be well, and ciao for now.